2 weeks ago, we talked about a provision in a 1974 law that defined life imprisonment as a term of 80 years, effectively limiting the term for those sentenced to life in prison. Well, the court recently ruled that when factoring in time for good behavior, work release, and educational achievements, those life terms were cut to as few as 30 years. The verdict created an uproar when it was announced that 26 men and 1 woman qualified for release. Governor Perdue moved to block their release, asking for a review of the time awarded the prisoners. Question 1 to John. It's our understanding that the law in question was actually changed in 1978 so that people now sentenced to life in prison cannot be paroled. Is that correct?
Yeah, what we're talking about are people that were sentenced in a particular period of time. The original case involved just one person. There was a reaction, oh, well, this means all these other people are going to be let out. And I think now what's going to happen is a much slower, more deliberative process rather than jumping to the conclusion. But let's remember that you can't retroactively change things, even if you'd like to.
And that's really the heart of the issue that's exactly involved here, correct?
Well, that's exactly right, whether we like it or not. First of all, 98% of the people that go to prison get out of prison. And we release people that have done similar things every week, in the North Carolina Department of Corrections does this. We just don't release them all at one time in a big group. And John is right, no matter what we think of it, this was the law. These people were told this was their sentence. You can't very well go back and say, oh, well, now we're a little worried, you got to serve another.
Well, no, but here's what happened retroactively. In 1981, you may have been in the legislature then, the Fair Sentencing Act said that a prisoner could get a day of good behavior, good conduct, for every day they served, assuming that they did get good conduct. Now, this did not apply, however, to those people who, this was from that point forward, the Department of Corrections, the Commissioner of Corrections, decided to change that so that it would be retroactive and go back to all of the prisoners, giving all of them time off good behavior. That's really the crux of where all of this comes, isn't it, Elaine?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, I hadn't researched it back as far as you did, but yeah. I mean, you're right. We have this law now where for every day of good behavior, you get it locked off. And as you say, when they enacted that law, they made it retroactive to everybody. I guess one thing we don't know is to what extent at that time they knew they were going to be applying that to people who had life sentences.
But that's what Governor Perdue's so upset about, isn't it?
Well, I don't think the head of the Department of Prison or Correction has the authority to go back and make a state law retroactive. I think,
but the law you guys passed gave him that authority.
But then we went back and entered into the structured sentencing that is now in place today. But I think part of the problem also is that the penal system is not to rehabilitate, it's to punish. So with that, they ought to stay in prison.
Well, this is a difficult issue for the public to follow. I think it's been difficult for the reporters to write in a way that people could understand.
And it's gotten people really emotionally upset.
And you can understand that. I guess what I'm left with as a non-lawyer trying to understand all this is that the judges, the appellate judges who studied this issue and issued this case for this one particular person, so not necessarily all of them in the same boat, that's the assumption the administration made. But for this particular individual, those judges appear to have known as much as anybody else could possibly know about this, and that was their decision.
All right, so are we going to expect any more legislation from this?
Well, I don't think we'll see any more legislation. You can't go back and change the law again. I think we're going to see more grandstanding by politicians who don't want to be accused of letting people out of prison, even though the law, I think, seems pretty clear. And as John said, the court has looked at it.
We'll follow this story for you as we go forward. Well, you've heard our spin on the issues of the day. For more developments of interest, be sure to visit our website, ncspin.com. And we hope you'll join us next week when NC Spin will take on more issues of interest to the people of North Carolina. Until then, stay informed and watch out for the spin.
Join us next week and get the spin on issues facing our state.